Nick Ashew here with the DMV.
Has concluded.
The DMVSTREAM.COM player.
Sean Parker along with Nick Allison.
I always wanted to play volleyball in college.
Cordova trying to dig it out of the board. And they score!
Hello and welcome to the Prep Zone. Matt present here with you. I'm joined today by Chris Jolly and Adam Ayalu. Guys, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
It's a great time of the year, playoff basketball either here or on the horizon. Adam, I'll start with you. What changes, what emerges come playoff time?
Everything. And I mean, literally, I was at a game last night where free throw shooting almost cost the team a game. And it just the stage is bigger. Seniors don't want to lose. The younger players, want to show that they belong. And it's really exciting, man. All the fans come out. That's another thing that's really big about the playoffs is the fan support that when you see, everything changes.
So we hit on free throw shooting, the atmosphere. Chris, how about the coaching? What changes in the coaching mindset and the execution down the stretch?
Well, coaching-wise, you want to tighten your rotation, 9 out of 10. Everything changes. You don't know, as a coach, who's going to be able to necessarily handle the pressure. You play all these games, but it's a totally different mindset when if you lose, you go home. This is pressure some of these kids have never faced, and when a lot of coaches love to play younger kids, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and they're putting them in these situations, but until it's playoff time, you just don't know how it's going to go. So
it's an interesting time of year, exciting time of the year, and part of that is that change. Once again, Chris is from NovaHoops.com, Adam from VantageHoops.com. Let's get right into the show and show you guys what's on tap for us here today. Of course, playoffs on the horizon, but we're also talking O'Connell and DeMatha, the Potomac School and Flint Hill. We're recapping a couple other games as well, Loudoun Valley and Heritage, and then the Concord semifinals, and we'll get into the finals as well in our preview section along with St. John's O'Connell. Now, here's how to find us, per usual, Facebook Live, on demand on DMVSTREAM.COM, and on local TV as well in Northern Virginia. Now, we're going to step aside as we always do and let BJ Kubarulis tell you how to get your plays featured on our Top 10 Countdown.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new season of Top Plays here at AllMetSports.com and WashingtonPost.com. I'm BJ Kubarulis. All right, like the previous 3 seasons, we're continuing our exciting interactive high school basketball show, a show that allows you, parents, coaches, players, and fans, to send in your video submissions for ranking in our Top 10 style weekly show. Each week, we'll reveal the latest highlights, dunks, sweet assists, and bizarre happenings from across the region. All you gotta do is tweet me the link. I'm at BJKoob, and remember, you gotta hashtag it AllMets. You can send in your Huddle, YouTube, Vimeo, really any video link, and we'll consider it for use in the upcoming episode of Top Plays. Remember to tune in every Monday to see if your video made it at AllMetSports.com. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back. It's time for our Weekend Rewind segment. And Adam, O'Connell besting DeMatha in the WCAC. 2 straight losses for DeMatha. Is it time to panic?
I don't think so. DeMatha beat O'Connell the first time. So, I think it's just mainly O'Connell getting revenge more than anything. And this game was played at O'Connell. First game was played at DeMatha, obviously. This game was basically a huge... O'Connell dominated the glass in this game. Nate Watson, the Providence committee, had 16 points, 11 rebounds. Another kid who was really good for them was Quentin Malora-Brown. He's a junior. He was really good blocking shots and things like that. Matt Lewis, he's a senior. He's going to James Madison University. Hit several threes in this game. He had 15 points. Played really good defense from the perimeter. Made plays with the ball in his hands. DeMatha did battle in this game. There was a lot of lead changes. Ryan Allen made a ton of big shots. He's going to Delaware next year. Allen had 20 to lead the game. DJ Harvey, who's going to Notre Dame next year, he was hitting a ton of tough shots. He was also doing a good job rebounding. He had, I think, 11 rebounds. Ultimately, it just came down to the battle of the boards, which O'Connell dominated. They were tough to keep off the offensive glass. They did a good job neutralizing Josh Carlton, who's going to UConn next year. Playing team ball, unselfish ball, and then they squeaked out a close win.
It sounds like both of these teams are really balanced teams too, right?
Yeah. The first game, I think Matt Becht had 17 points for O'Connell. He's a junior sharpshooter. He had 5 threes in that game. Xavier Johnson also had a really good game. I think he had 13 or 14 points, 8 rebounds, and like 4 or 5 assists. So any given night in that league, you don't know who's going to go off.
And the schedule doesn't really get any easier for DeMatha. They play Gonzaga tomorrow night, and just it illustrates how tough this WCAC is and how things have just changed throughout the season as you take a look at the aforementioned Nate Watson, another double-double last night for O'Connell.
Yeah, Nate's leading the league in rebounding. He's just a beast, man. There's no way to describe it. The only time when I don't see him dominate a game is when he's in foul trouble. But if he can stay on the court, then O'Connell's usually really, really tough to beat.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit here and move over to Virginia. Chris, Loudoun Valley defeating Heritage. They only have 1 loss on the season. What impresses you most about this team?
Well, they can get you in just so many different ways. Jordan Miller is the guy that stands out. Congratulations, by the way, he's a junior. He scored his 1,000th point after just 56 games. He's the headliner there, and he scores over 20 a game. But they have a ton of weapons. They're guard-oriented, but they can hit you with Nick Ball, with Jalen Williams, with Dominic Peterson. Goes on and on and on and on. There's Jordan right there. He's averaging 22 a game. This is maybe the most high-powered guard-oriented team in the region. Heritage has the win over Loudoun Valley. They've played 3 times already this year. They're going to play for a 4th time tomorrow night. So Heritage has been good at slowing Loudoun Valley down and keeping it kind of a slower-paced game where they have a chance, but Loudoun Valley just has so much firepower offensively.
A 12-point win in this matchup. They scored 25 in the 4th quarter, did Loudoun Valley. They scored 17 in the first half.
Right.
What is this late-game surge that we saw from them?
Well, again, I mean, I think it's just a matter of them having just too much and eventually it coming through. Heritage Coach Carpenter over there does as good a job as anyone at having his guys play disciplined, slow-paced basketball against teams like Loudoun Valley that can get up and down the court as well as anyone. Towards the end there, it did get away. The game was a little closer than that. Jordan Miller hit a long shot at the buzzer in that game to kind of give Loudoun Valley some momentum. I forget if it was halftime or the 3rd quarter. But Heritage, I don't know if these guys, the game tomorrow is at Loudoun Valley, and I'm not sure Loudoun Valley can be defeated at home.
It's certainly tough to do, but at the same time, it's also difficult to beat a team 3 times in the same season.
There you go.
Which one will give, we shall see. We got a couple more recaps coming your way, but first we're going to go inside the paint with Alex Harris. We're talking Paulus 6, Brandon Slater.
Stop right about here. So this is either a botched play or a mistake here by Miles, but you know what? Miles is a great kid, so I'm going to call it a brilliant pass. How's that sound?
Benefit of the doubt.
Awesome. Let's give it to him. All right, so ball comes out, and instead of freaking out, let's pause it right there. Instead of freaking out, Brandon just casually, calmly goes right into the play, and I really like that. So let's go ahead and just watch him step right in like it's nothing. Knock down the 3. Defense is definitely too slow to get out. All right, so I want to point out a few things here, though, that I really like that it tells me about Brandon is one, we already talked, he's an all-around player. He can shoot. He can get to the rim. We're going to see a couple of those clips in a minute. But also, look how confident he is shooting this thing. This is just repetition, 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 and he knows how good of a shooter he is. And then pause right there. That's what I like. That's a fiercely competitive kid right there. He's just sending a message, not saying a word, but he's definitely sending a message, showing that he's the guy. He's the guy. There you go. So let's go ahead and move right on along into our next play. So Brandon is off camera to the left in that corner. You're going to see him as soon as he catches the ball there, immediately into the rip through. So pause right there. The thing that I really like is it's awareness. It's his awareness. He knows what he wants. As soon as he caught the ball, he didn't have to think. He knew. He knew ahead of time. So as we go ahead, let's roll a few frames up, and we're going to see that to help defense slow getting there. So as we pause here, one of the themes that we keep seeing on our In the Paint segments is slow defensive rotations. And we see it again and again and again. And this is where Brandon's going to take advantage of a slow defensive rotation. And right there, pause, he's able to split that gap. Can we actually go back and watch that again? Because it's really great. He goes, and the help defense is slow, leaving that gap between the two players, jumping right through, using that easy left-handed finish right around the front of the rim. So that right there to me is a high major play made easy, made look very, very easy.
Hello and welcome to Lang Fieldhouse on the campus of Fairfax High School for the finals of the AHSL 6A North Wrestling Championship. Looking for the ball, that's Aaron Howell looking for the ball, and that's the ball for Aaron Howell from Robinson High School.
We're back here on the Prep Zone, and Adam, the Potomac School took down Flint Hill the other night, holding them to just 14 points in the second half, if I have that right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what did they do on the defensive end to come away with that win?
It all starts with the big guy inside, Devin Flowers. He's like 6'8", junior, power forward center mix. Blocked 4 shots in the game and altered I don't know how many others. Flowers is, one of the more underrated big men in the area, in my opinion. But in terms of athleticism, shot blocking, rebounding, he's probably as good as any big in his class. He played at Gonzaga before he went to Potomac School, so he can play at that high level. And he's really, really helped his team, gain an identity, and they really play well as a team together. In this game, they had so many guys contribute. Nate Martin hit so many pull-up jumpers. Mike Grimes hit a ton of tough shots. He was answering pretty much any time Flint Hill made a shot, he was answering them, hitting incredibly tough shots. Justin Law, he's a sophomore, he hit 5 threes for them. So it was just a total team effort, and Potomac School they're getting better as the season is going on, and I think in the most recent VISAA, the private school poll, they were ranked as a top 5 team in the state, so they're making noise.
You wouldn't necessarily know it from the 14-10 record, but like you're saying, coming on strong late, we teed up the show talking about how playoffs can be a different animal. What has been the key to this late surge, and how does that kind of build some momentum heading into the playoff time?
Defense, man. It starts with defense, getting out in the transition, making it easy, scoring easy points, and sharing the ball. Those are the things that this team did that I saw, and it contributed to this win against what was a really important game in terms of locally, because it's a huge rivalry that dates back for many, many years.
You mentioned it all started on the inside with Devin Flowers, a double-double for him, 16 points and 10 rebounds, or 12 rebounds, excuse me, 4 blocks as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a dominant performance, and you alluded to the fact that it's not just the numbers you see on offense, but the shot-changing ability on the defensive side.
Yeah, he had 2 steals too, so he's all over the place.
The stuff in the stat sheet.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned that for some teams, playoffs have already begun, and Chris, that's true for the Concord Conference in Virginia. A couple of semifinals of late. What did you see in the games between Centerville and Herndon, and then Chantilly Robinson?
Well, both were close games, and both were decided by a total of 5 points. This conference, the Concord, is an intriguing conference because really anyone could have won the tournament. Oakton and Westfield went away early in the earlier rounds, but I could have seen either of those teams winning the Concord. Chantilly defeated Robinson 51-48. It was a great game, defensive game where both coaches, and Adam saw the game. They could have used a few more free throws to go in, but that goes again to what you were talking about with playoff basketball. A free throw is a little harder when you have a home crowd yelling at you in the playoffs. And I want to point out that of 24 playoff games yesterday, the home team won 23 of them. And that goes into the psyche of, these high school players playing in front of playoff crowds for perhaps the first time. Chantilly came around. They're such a balanced team. They won 51-48. Kaslaska had 12. Elijah Ford had 12. Christian Pirana had 12. This is a team that won't overwhelm you with any one guy. They're very solid on defense. They can hit you from inside. They can hit you with Ford inside. They can hit you from outside, from three-pointers. They're just a very solid team. Robinson also, which they've qualified for the regionals now. Anthony Douglas has scored 22 against Chantilly. He's become one of the region's most dangerous offensive post players. And Centerville. How does Centerville do it? They won again. Nobody saw these guys coming. Kevin Harris is my choice. There's actually 3 or 4. I won't say he's my outright choice for Coach of the Year. Yeah, we can do that some other time. He's definitely up there for Coach of the Year. He's absolutely turned around the Wildcats program. They won another close game, 48-46 over a dangerous Herndon team last night. They advanced to face Chantilly. They were 19 of 22 from the free throw line, which is impressive in a regular season game and certainly impressive in a playoff game. And that was the difference last night. Herndon was 3 of 9 from the free throw line. Centerville was 19 of 22. And Centerville and Chantilly, they'll play, I believe, Friday night for the Concord Tournament Championship. But I want to point out in 6A, you're going to face Herndon, Robinson, Chantilly, or Centerville. All those teams are very dangerous.
So throughout this year on the PrepZone, we've talked about so many important individual players, guys like Jordan Miller, Don Fergala, who just seem to lead their team night after night. But then you bring up Chantilly in the balance, 3 guys scoring 12 points. So I'm going to ask each of you, Chris, you go first. If you're a coach, more important to have a balanced team or a star player?
Well, I mean, you see a lot of these teams, what Jordan Miller does is extremely impressive because he scores 22 a game on a very good team. But a lot of these teams that are just stable, that can get scoring from a multitude of different places, they're the teams that tend to advance in the playoffs because coaches tend to shut down your best player a little better in the playoffs and things like that. I mean, if you're asking me if I'd rather have Jordan Miller or an extremely balanced team, I'm not sure what to tell you. However, I think some of these teams that do have guys that can score multiple guys in double figures are the teams that do tend to advance in the playoffs.
Adam, star player or balanced starting 5?
It's tough, man. Nobody would want to turn down, a really good player. But in my opinion, you need depth and you need to have balance to win in these types of situations. You see, especially at the college level, most of the good teams have balance, and it should be that way in high school too, I think.
All right, well, we got a few previews to get to, including that Concord Championship game on the horizon. But first, it's time for this week's PrepCast, and this week on the PrepCast, it's Bullis coach Bruce Kelly.
Familiar with what Kyrie and Vado bring to the table. Can you give me some insight what these guys bring to the table on the basketball court?
They're both really competitive kids who will do what needs to be done to win the game, particularly defensively. They present different challenges for the other team defensively because Kyrie is really a strong driver to the basket, and Vado's got an assortment of moves that he can score. So they both present challenges because they can both score in multiple ways.
Awesome stuff, Coach. Kyrie, you've been on the varsity team for 3 years. You've recently accepted an offer to play at the university, so first and foremost, congratulations.
Thank you.
My question for you, when I see you play, I notice you play with incredible physicality and toughness. I'm wondering, where does that hard-nosed nature, where does that style of play come from?
Well, recently I've just been staying in the gym, just trying to stay strong, and every time I get in the floor, I just look to just play to my full potential.
And Vado, you've also been on the varsity team for 3 years. You didn't play much as a freshman. You had some big games as a sophomore, but it seems like you've really emerged as one of the best guards in the IAC and in the area. What's the biggest factor in your breakout season this year?
Staying in the gym with trainers, the people I'm really confident, and building chemistry with my team, really.
Coach, obviously the IAC tournament right around the corner. Your team has a first-round bye and will play the winner of St. Albans and Episcopal. What challenges do these teams present?
St. Albans is a really big team. Big Colin and Cole and Snowden, who's going to go play football at UVA. So they are probably the biggest and strongest team in the league. So that's the issue they pose. And then Episcopal, George number 3 and Xavier number 2 are really good scorers. So those two can really impact your game plan. So they both are good teams, but they present different challenges. So for us, we're trying to just...
All right, now to see the complete PrepCast from this week, go to our website, DMVSTREAM.com. We're in our weekly Fast Forward segment here on the Prep Zone. Adam, St. John's and O'Connell, big matchup in the WCAC.
Yes, but before we talk about this game, got to give a quick shout out to St. John's. They beat DeMatha last night. Sophomore Casey Morcell hit the game-winning 3. Big shot, big win for St. John's. But on to this game. Another tough game in the WCAC coming up on Friday night at St. John's. O'Connell won the first game, 72-61 at home. So St. John's will be looking to get revenge. I did say that Matt Beck had 17 against DeMatha, but I stand corrected. His 17-point game was against St. John's, and the first time around he had 17. He had 5 threes in that game. So sorry about that, Matt. Casey Morcell, the kid who hit the game winner for St. John's against DeMatha, had 15 in his last meeting against O'Connell. He's really, really emerging as one of the best sophomores in the area. He's a really good defender. Guarded Anthony Cowan in practice most of the year last year and didn't back down 1 inch. So he really learned a lot last year, and you're seeing that translate into results and production here down the stretch for his team. Another good player for St. John's has been Reese Mona. He's just a winner, man. He's a glue guy. He started on their team last year that won the WCAC championship. He's going to walk on at Maryland next year. So just look out for Reese to have a big impact on this game. I think St. John's will pull it out in a really close game at home.
The whole conference seems to really be pretty close all season long, so it'll be interesting to see how this kind of shakes out in the coming weeks and heading into playoff time as you look at Morcell there, averaging over 10 points a game. And again, we talked about free throws come playoff time.
Look at that.
That's what you want to see. Anything over 75% is good. Anything over 80, 85% is great.
Yeah, he's leading his team in free throw shooting. That's really exceptional. He's only a sophomore, so the future is really bright for that kid.
All right, we talked about earlier, Centerville, Chantilly, both winners in the semifinals, now heading to the 5A finals. Chris, how do you see this playing out?
You know, first of all, it's going to be a great game. So if you're in the area, please show up to Centerville Chantilly. You'll get your money's worth, $6. You know, you can probably swing that, a little cheaper than a movie. It's going to be a close game. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind it's going to be a great game. Chantilly did win the first game by 10 points, I believe, something in that range. Centerville won the rematch by a couple points. Centerville, all they do is win close games. My head kind of says here, Chantilly's a little bit more of the stable team. They have a little more experience, basically. They rely on seniors a little more than Centerville. My head says Chantilly will pull this out, but my heart kind of says, you know, Centerville we've been counting them out, not counting them out, but just underestimating them all year, and they're just getting it done. Kevin Harris is doing, I reiterate again, a fantastic job over there. It really depends, kind of. Centerville likes to play, kind of would like this game in the 40s, 50s. Chantilly, although they're not necessarily a team that likes to play that up-tempo, probably would like this game more in the high 50s to the mid-60s. So that's a good way, I think you'll be able to tell who won, just looking at the point total. But let's go, I'm going to go with my head, because I always go with my head over my heart, and I'm 70% of the time wrong. But I'm going to go, it says a lot about my head, doesn't it? I'm going to go with Chantilly in a 54-49 victory.
So Chantilly, it's that low-scoring game. But you talk about Centerville and how we've kind of counted them out all season long.
Right.
What is it that they're doing that people didn't anticipate besides just winning?
First of all, when you looked at the list of transfers, a lot of people do that. You know, I just started NovaHoops.com this year, but one of the first things you do if you're previewing the year is look at the list, and I use DMV a lot, look at the list of transfers. Bryce Douglas has turned out to be nobody talked much about it when the season started. Bryce Douglas played on the JV at Bishop Ireton last year, I believe, and he transferred to Centerville, and this kid has just been ice. I mean, just absolute ice. And then, you know, if I'm sure someone saw it coming, I'm sure someone knew how good this kid was. I had no idea until I saw them play. And, you know, Coach Harris talks about getting the ball in this kid's hands as the game winds down, and this guy has delivered more times than not. And there's no reason my heart thinks he'll deliver again. My head says maybe not this time. Who knows?
Averaging over 15 points a game, 15.6 on the season. So certainly a guy who, can't blame him, you want the ball in his hand.
Right. And another guy, a sophomore, doing it, all this, a sophomore. I mean, it's really unbelievable. And, you know, I talked about young kids that you don't know if they're going to step up in playoff time, if they're not ready. I fully believe this kid is ready.
All right, we shall see exciting playoff action on the horizon. Now, we're just about out of time on the Prep Zone. This is my last show, so I really want to give a shout out and a big thank you to the guys behind the scenes that make it possible. BJ Kubarulis, Nick Plum, Derek Kramer, our director, and everyone who's been on with me, Chris Jolly and Adam Ayalu here today.
Congratulations, man. I'm really happy for you, man. Did a great job. It was great working with you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Congrats. We're going to miss you, man.
Well, the show rolls on. Sean Parker will be in this chair next week, so come right back and watch us on the Prep Zone.